evolve in the age of AI. As AI change, the way we operate and defend and also security team must move beyond reactive approaches to the proactive validation and continuous understanding and confident decision making. And we honor by our field CTO of AMIA Trend AI. Let's welcome him, Mr. Matukuma. Let's welcome.
Thank you. Welcome back after the coffee break. So this is a great topic to discuss, right? Something that refresh. This would be a challenging task for many people. How do I actually now define my security framework, security code in the age of AI? That's the challenge most of the CXOs and CISOs face. Because business want to adapt AI. At the same time, I need to make sure I have a safe harbor for the business to execute the AI program, get more customers, enhance the business, at the same time security is in place. How can you be the enabler? You know, I'm working in cybersecurity for like 20 plus years, close to 25 years. Since the time we see, we talked about endpoint security, then we moved into network, then talked about firewall, VPN, then the SOC, the SIM, the gateway solution. We had time to react. We had some time to react and adapt to the security code from reactive to protective and proactive and so on, right? But then in the last 1.5 years, things look fast forward. The AI just increased the speed. The landscape of what we are seeing as cybersecurity changed just too drastically. So many of the CXOs I see supposed to be in, they say, I don't have a runway to protect my AI. Right? So let me ask you a question in this audience. How many of you as a cybersecurity professionals driving your AI project as a first time? Maybe. But who is driving your AI project as a coach? Application team. Application team use those devices, don't have an AI project, as Damian mentioned. The purpose is actually focusing on speed, data accuracy, and performance. The security gets important in the last week of the whole project, isn't it? Right? So when things are said, hey, this is what happened before I start running. So what do I do with that? So how we can actually fix the car when you are driving it? So that's the task most of the CXO is facing today. So we're going to discuss a couple of strategies, a couple of methods, frameworks that you can apply to build a security platform that will help you in this journey. So let's get the fact same thing right. With AI, the gap between the intent and impact is shrink. I think Data's mentioned quite a lot on the topic of explaining how agentic frameworks, agentic workflows are used to launch an attack against organizations. But let me give you a classic business example. You know, McDonald's, they were running an AI project, a pilot for a couple of years, to actually take orders and then place the process orders into the data. Somehow it got messed up. The AI started getting wrong orders and started getting publicity for some reason. And then the McDonald's had to cut their pilot project, which they have tested for a couple of years. So the impact is way too fast. Even before the reactor software, you will actually start reacting after the impact. So the moral of the story, without a proper validation, having moving pilot to a production, you have bigger chance. So you have no time to respond before the impact. Same with cybersecurity, right? You take Microsoft Anthropic release, that's a Project Glasswing. By the way, we also have access to Project Glasswing as well as Micro AI. We're using Microsoft to code a scam or code basis, defining vulnerabilities. The speed and scale of discovered vulnerability is a lot. The time taken for us to validate and confirm it's true positive and react take longer time. So we change the whole game together. So now, with that, right, let's have a few more facts. So why business wants it for sure, we just want to resonate there. Definitely the model can resonate better than human. You just use any of the ChatGPT. You take a document, upload it there and say, give me a summary. Seconds, you got the data. For humans, it takes time. Definitely, it is a business enabler. You can fast forward things. At the same time, as I spoke about McDonald's example, the mistakes can also scale instantly. Another classic example, if you read the Cursor AI company, they had extra privileges aligned to an agentic AI workflow. It actually go ahead and deleted the production database, the production data or code. It is publicly documented. So because you don't have a human to verify it, it just can take instantly. So the risk will cascade. They're just taking sequence of steps. So the point here is You may not have an exact time frame to say, okay, maybe I did something wrong at the beginning, let me go and correct it in the middle. You do not have the chance. Yeah. So the assumptions are correct, right? We didn't do anything wrong. We just planned properly. We started defending our perimeters. Then we go ahead and say, let me have a SWOT. Then we go ahead and say, let me protect the cloud. And we talk about XDR, EDR platform, but then the guy changed the whole underlying thing, which actually kind of move up faster. So imagine, until last year, we were just trying to fine-tune our security playbook. How's my incident response playbook should look like? How should my EDR playbook look like? Now, all these playbooks need to be revalidated with AI in place, right? Now, let's see the basics of hygiene. So are we trying to say this hygiene is not important? No, this is fundamental, this is essential. The data classification, vulnerability management, misconfiguration management, identity access management are essential. So if you do not do this right, it was not a legitimate right. If you want to fix a data state, not a problem, not a chance. Like for example, if you have a vulnerability that kind of exposes it, you don't have a visibility, and if you wait for that attacker to pick up, it's just a matter of minutes. Like take a 20 AI model, right? The time taken for attacker to discover vulnerability and exploit it is like weeks to months time, now it's a minute's time. The expenses of taking this hygiene right is too expensive compared to before. So this is something we have to establish foundationally. The hygiene has to be fixed. So you have the tools and techniques to maintain them as well. We'll see that at a later stage, how we will do it. And the myth. So we usually have a myth. Now I talk to many of my sales reps and they say, hey, I want to actually have better data. I want to set up my own big data analytics, Hadoop, and put all the data inside and more visibility, more complexity. It's not true. More data doesn't mean you have full visibility. More dashboard, you may agree with me, right? More dashboard doesn't mean it's all, I can see everything end to end. Basically, if they're not integrated, they're not connected, they're not telling you the business story of what is actually happening. It's just garbage, right? So this is actually a myth. So if I'm looking at a breadth of tool, okay, I have a tool, I have a cloud compliance API, now I can see what my users are doing. Plus, I have this and that. But if they're not connected together as an orchestrated platform, and a complete data set, a complete workflow, a complete unified data lake, this will give you more problem. This will give you a full sense of security, at the age of security, at the age of AI, having this full sense of hallucination, this can be more risky. Yeah. So, as we say, data is very important, right? So, I do have a lot of friends who do a data transformation project for many companies, AI transformation. So maybe a company ABC is trying to be an AI company. What they do, they work with the company and then try to build that whole company framework process and bring an AI application to go to public. So I asked them, where do you spend most of your time? Basically, they spend most of the time fixing the company data, sanitization, tagging, filtering. That is the key process. And usually this realization happens after the application goes live. So it's basically the rules apply simple. Garbage in, garbage out. Right? If AI doesn't fix your data, AI just accelerates your problem at the scale. So it is a difficult task. So if you're going into an AI project, it is actually very essential. It's a very, very daunting task. You need to take months to weeks to classify your data based on domain, based on use cases and everything. And then you have an established process in place, move into AI. If you're stepping ahead there, that's actually a wrong step, right? You still have to come back and fix it. So what is required for the system, right? For example, how do I actually build? Now I'm going to build it back the AI project, AI foundation back into the security framework as well. We need to have a strong process in place. For example, I'll give you another example. We are part of Project Last Week, and Project Last Week access is not given to everybody. It's only specific in countries. So I spoke with a couple of CXOs. They said, if I don't have access to Project Last Week, I'll probably subscribe to Opus 4.8, 4.7, I do my vulnerability scan using LLM and discover them first before the attacker does. And I said, so how is your experience so far? It says very messy. Because the AI starts generating a lot of discovery. So what do I do with it now? Too much of data. Because we don't have an established process, a flow, a framework to say, if this data comes in, how I'm going to acquire it, how I'm going to classify, how I'm going to come up with a compensating control or a control in place. So without having a strong process in place, that's a very disastrous step to take. Make sure it's there, and strong governance framework. The platform should be built with an assumption and with one autonomous AI. Autonomous AI is very powerful, high speed, autonomous AI on top of it, right? Basically, you are setting up your policy, controls, guardrails, and then you're letting the AI to run. The sequence is reversed. I don't start my AI project and then think about my governance, compliance, guardrails. You start with your compliance, governance, guardrails, then you start your AI project. That's my recommendation. I hear from most of the CXOs, that's typically the pitfall that you should fall into. Because business demands for it, you don't want to stop there. So how can we go along with the business, right? Now let me move it back to the security system. Now in this case, I was having a discussion with one of the government defense side. They were saying the biggest challenge for me, I don't have a telemetry of AI. Within AI, there are multiple tools, your AI apps, your LLMs, your API connections. The user using AI. And of course, the other attacks on formulation and stuff like that. How do you get a centralized visibility? So I need to build a platform that is actually purpose-built for AI as a foundation, which is actually interlocked and connected. I should be able to see my SOC telemetry, and top of that, I should be able to see my AI telemetry as a program. And today, if you ask a question, another question is like, you can visualize it. So as a CXO, do you know what is your asset inventory in the AI stack? How many models? How many API running there? How many applications? Big question, right? Where the data are? It's true because the application team is going at such high speed. The security has to really keep up with them to make sure that the project is delivered in time. It's very hard to really say, I have this massive inventory and I have sufficient guardrails in place. So how do you unify flow? And in today's context, your security dashboard cannot be static. It has to be dynamic because things change fast at the speed and the scale. So you need to have your floating dashboard based on the current risk context, what's going on in your business application, your business transformation, new project being raised. Your state dashboard has to be not static, more dynamic. So the foundation is unifying the telemetry, having a connected data, having a connected workflow, a floating dashboard. We cannot even rely on static dashboard anymore. It has to be a floating dashboard. You with me so far? Okay. So maybe I can just bring in some screens and then we can share. So what can I do? The car is already running in 100 screens. So what do I do with that now? My recommendation: pick up a small scale project that you're running in AI, and look at it, apply the guardrails, and see the guardrails work without any disturbance to AI project. Prove the value that you can actually scale, you can guide the business, you can enable the business to run AI in a safe manner, and then once that whole established, you can scale to larger. It's good to start now and not need to get started when your context will be dedicated. Right? Okay. Start small, prove the value, scale bigger. Yeah. Because it's beyond the soft control, to be honest with you. I was surprised for this station I was in. There is a soft thing, there's a CXR, and there's an application team. And the soft teams have nothing to do with the AI projects. But the application team actually touching all the data, all the infrastructure we use. The CXR, I'm responsible for AI project, but let me get control of that, right? But that's typically a common situation I see across the region. So what does security look like now? It should be looking like, basically. And most of us like Danny. Hey, Danny, you're responsible to make sure the AI projects run safely across the environment. So here we're looking at two impacts. One impact, security impact due to vulnerability misconfiguration within the AI stack. Second impact caused by misconfiguration of AI application causing something like metamos and things like cursor. So how can we minimize it? So if you actually bring in of course, there's other controls. If you go into AI transformation journey, you have your risk registers, you have your governance place, assign people who are responsible for AI, what Daniel has shown. So that's all a process to be in place. But of course, if I have a guardrail, like governance gateway, that can manage to minimize the control, minimize the damages due to security issues, that would be fantastic. But what would be my starting point? First thing, I want to move my AI step. What's actually happening? What is my risk score as of today? Not today, as of this moment. Right? A lot of people is actually using AI, getting the data, from responsibles back and forth. So it's so dynamic. I want to know what's my topmost risk today in my organization, in my AI stack. So this is trending. So it's the trending data. It's not like fixed data, right? Trending data. It says, hey, and put subject to change in your front review. We already have this review running up, but we have analyzing the workflow because it's loading the data sets and everything. So you will see a similar version, but maybe more enhanced in production instance of the version 1 if you're using version 1. So you will see this is my training data. This is what I see that the data is exposed to. So commonly, where you train your AI models, push them into AWS, GitLab, right, Amazon, Azure, into data stack, and then build your model, build your applications, start training it. But how do you ensure that you don't have this configuration, they're not exposed to, the critical data are not exposed to? So first thing, I want to get a visibility of it. What's the exposed data are? And if that is my exposed data, and that is the high security for me to take action, the machine runs through it and says, based on whatever I see on your risk scope, the attack surface, with David mentioned, attack surface or AI stack, this is possibly the first risk you have to really address. So you probably review the risk. Yeah, review the risk. And then it gives you the whole CI/CD pipeline. You hear this thing, right? The vibe coding, right? And vibe living. Vibe coding is your pre-production, vibe living is post-production. Right? There's also vibe hacking. For data sharing, vibe hacking. You don't have to do much, just go, I want to do this, they help you with most of it, right? So now I want to look at what is my vibe coding and vibe living looking like for me, my inventory, containers, ranges, what kind of circuit board you're running through, applications and workload. By the way, as a SOC team, you need to have a visibility on this. As a CXO, you need to have visibility on this. Whatever the case and framework you have for the SOC to maintain the ticket escalation workflow, this has to be enhanced to the AI stack level. If you're not doing that, then you're missing a lot. So again, once I say what applications are running and so on, and I can quickly go and map what are my MCP services are. MCP service is one of the components, if you haven't know it. It's getting transformed how the application communicates with the user and database. There's A2A communication, MCP communication. You can take a look at that. The AI stack, if you look at a recent survey report, the AI itself has tons of vulnerability, the AI stack itself. Right? If you're looking at the AI project for a company, we say, hey, I want to make sure my AI project runs smooth, faster, performance. Similarly for our AI companies, they actually look at how can I deliver my AI program faster, better, and so on. Security comes last. So patching to those AI companies offers the data. So if you're involving an AI stack into your organization, the vulnerability stack also goes up. The vulnerability landscape. So you're looking at infrastructure vulnerability protection. Your AI vulnerability protection has to look at your NVDA service, your MCP service, your disk configuration, because this will open a lot of way for attacker to use it. Best of all, now the attacker has an AI himself. You don't have to do it. That can make it to go and spin it and map it and try it down in minutes time. Right? So if you don't have that landscape, it's very hard for us to go and say, what should I protect in AI? The biggest question I see most of the CXO face, they do not know where do I start with this AI stack protection. Just do I have risk analytics coming, or should I just go ahead and say, put a guardrail say. Besides those LLM firewalls and stuff, right? It goes much beyond that. Now, I want to also prioritize it based on the risk configuration. What is my attack plan for? Which has higher risk? So as we see, attackers don't see data as one data points, they see it as a graph. Like you can validate that. He's from that side of it. So you can see a pre-breach attack detection. Basically, before the attack happens, you can say, what is your potential in your cloud? Like for example, you have your notebook running there, instances running there with the data for training and configuration. Maybe building your harness on the LLM. But then that would be maybe in your private VPC, but it connected to the users and network which actually exposed to the public VPC, which may not have proper protection. Through that link, you may reach your data. Right? Now, from there, I can have a recommendation workflow. You use your workflow based on protection, then you go ahead and prove it, and then you follow the LLM to go and say, hey, what is my remediation steps? Tell me what we're doing. Click on it. I want an AI to do it. I look at it, it just looks actually fantastic. So, generate remediation plan. Now, why do I say you have to unify your data lake? When do you get a better data outcome using AI? Quality of data. So if you can unify your endpoint telemetry network, email, cloud, software telemetry together with your AI stack telemetry into a single data lake, if I apply another model there, you get a best data. Essentially what we're telling, you should be building your security, not a SIM, not a SOAR, your security data lake that you can apply it in and look at your agentic algorithms. Because the attackers are using agentic so that they can have something. Right? So from manual discovery, continuous assessment, continuous scoring, continuous being a business enabler. So now you're not going in security guy and say, don't start AI project, I do not know how many risks. Now you can say, you can start an AI project, but these are potential risks. I need this time to apply guardrails. Now you can go ahead. Maybe now you can guide them. Right? So how is it possible with this? How do we do it? How can I put us in our platform? Basically, we have an agentic architecture a multiple agentic workflows and architecture based on multiple augmentation from different product sets, be it agentic SIM, be it my XDR, CREM. We already transformed them. So the agent automatically map input and the source and produce the data as a presentable data. Ideally, what we're trying to do, we take the security telemetries, AI telemetries, and converting them into a business data that speaks with you. The data doesn't speak with you, it's very hard to make that here. So now let's take next step. Now let's behave like an internal thing. As we said, we have established processes. We have red teaming activity, blue teaming activity, and we have vulnerability management, misconfiguration management. But this is all set in the age before AI, 4.5 years ago, right? But now we have to accelerate it. Now, how could I actually do a proactive testing on my data, live data, using my own AI LLM model? So now, you unify your telemetry. And once you unify your telemetry, basically you're actually building your own LLM. So Grandmaster helps with the vision on platform. You put that model there. With that model, now I can check the combination of exposures and risk, validation, something like red teaming, without touching the production data. Without touching the production data. So the reason why we have red teaming activity once a quarter, once a month, once in 6 months, maybe it's expensive, not expensive, but then it also touches production data, we can schedule the downtime, everything, approvals. But now with this, you can run this similar. So you need to be ahead of the curve, right, as the attacker does. Now assuming, can you see it? The lighting, if you can change something to make it visible. Maybe this lighting you switch off. Oh, very romantic data set, yeah? So you can see from here, right? Assuming this is your data lake, your data set, and LLM model, right? Now in the LLM model, I can run simulations and tests and say, how do we find the weakest link, find the attack, move the attack to the target? This could be telemetry from every single sources, including your AI, including your endpoint and third cloud workflow. That's why data unification is the key. Yeah. So now if I'm running the model and I say, I want to show the potential entry points and exploit points from my organization before the attacker does, that's how the model maps, right? I can say the red dot, but that's an AWS compute, but the high risk exposure plot of vulnerability there. But that AWS compute happened to connect to my internal Windows system. Someone may be accessing it. So who's accessing it? Mostly this R&D guy who's trying to do some testing on my AI stack testing model, having access to the AWS system, which is exposed to it. But the R&D guy also having access to the HR system for some reason. Now that's your potential landscape. So I can take your data set back in, simulate red teaming frequently, even before the attack can be right? So we're not just going one step ahead, we do agentic framework within the platform. We're also trying to implement that framework. You can say, you run a regular test, continuous assessment, review, understand the context, and you can take informed decision based on this. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So does AI can do everything? So everybody, usually when I go across, we can say, can we run autonomous software? I don't want AI, I don't want human discipline. It's not possible. It may be another couple of years, maybe. Because, if you use ChatGPT, Cloud, I used to use a lot, and then I ask for statuses, it gives you authoritative number. It may not be true. If you cross-validate a few times, it gives you a different number. So definitely a human has to be in the loop to make the final judgment call. If the human is not in the loop, it's very hard to say how output that comes from AI is done. Even for your SOC, even for your regular IT operations, even for any of your applications. The biggest challenge is the risk the customer think about AI is data hallucination. Bias is everything. It's all there, right? AI sense really now. But again, if you don't have a regular testing mechanism, it's very hard to contain it. Similarly, with a human you look very high. Security applies as well. I want to test my output, I want to test my validation, I want to look at my context, but I want human in the loop to make judgment to say, okay, this is right for AI represent, and I want to apply the business context based on my knowledge of my business, and I want to make predictions what apply to the business as well. So human in the loop is essential. Maybe you can move up in the chain or move down in the chain. That's very important. So now we can make a security happen, AI happen without any incident, in fact. So I'm not trying to say you can apply the whole mechanics to a project. It's like in terms of security context. Now you are well informed. You know your stack. You know your risk. You know your potential attack path. You know what's going to happen if this card doesn't affect. With that matrix, you can actually get the project on with less security incidents, or you can predict them. How it is actually looked on? Step one, visibility is the key. Understand your security stack, or understand your AI stack, where they are, how they are, what applications we use, and then apply guardrails. Visibility is the key. Without visibility, nothing happens here. How many MCP servers running in my environment? So you can ask this question: how many MCP servers running in my environment? Many people may not know. How many agents running there? What kind of identities do they have? What was the identity privilege level for this specific agent? What access does the agent have? Too many unanswered questions. So if you can figure this out, then you tie it all together. Then you apply the policies and guardrails and governance frameworks, of course. And then you understand the whole ecosystem by applying the context. For that context, you need telemetry. You need data integration, data lake you can pump, you can apply more, understand the whole thing. And you can prove that, okay, these are potential attack paths, like the simulation test we have done so far. You can apply the test paths and say these are potential exploit that can attack and can target an organization. Then you can act. And this is a continuous cycle. This is not a one-time event. This is a continuous cycle, probably how you like day job. Right? Every day you jump in, I want to take a look into my console. What are the new assets, new models, new application? What are the risk context for them? And what action should I take? How does it impact my organization if that happens? Then you can apply this use case here. Right? Go for it. So here we share two things, right? I want to summarize two things. The current state of AI stack, how it is actually applying. The projects are different from pilot to production, how organizations build it. How you can actually take the knowledge you're applying security framework. Building a security platform is key, but you need to have a data unification and you need to have contextualization. You need to be able to simulate those attacks before the attacker does something. Right? With that, you can actually use the loop and you can stay ahead to keep up with the speed. Right? This is still high-level framework strategies that you can apply. Of course, we have a lot of solutions out there. We touched on the surface. But if you want to have more detailed discussion, I'll be out there. You can reach me out. This is my last slide. I have tonight. Hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, please hit us there. Thank you. I'm going to give you back 2 minutes for the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Montefiore. Thank you so much, sir. All right.